Imagine going from the top of the cartel world to being imprisoned in the world's most notorious fortress, from enjoying the excesses of life to spending 23 hours a day confined to a cell. This is the story of how Mayo would be forced to deal with intense isolation, psychological trauma, and extreme security in this harsh and unforgiving environment. Final destination for Mayo. The events leading up to Zambada's capture are as dramatic as they are mysterious. On that fateful day, a private plane carrying Zambada and Guzman Lopez landed at an airport near El Paso, Texas. Both men were immediately arrested and taken into U.S. custody. The circumstances of their arrival have fueled numerous theories and speculations. One of Zambada's attorneys, Frank Perez, has alleged that his client was kidnapped by Guzman Lopez and forcibly brought to the United States. This claim, if true, adds a layer of betrayal and internal conflict within the Sinaloa cartel that is both shocking and sensational. The significance of Zambada's arrest cannot be overstated. As the longtime leader of the Sinaloa cartel, he was responsible for orchestrating the trafficking of enormous quantities of narcotics into the United States and other countries. His capture represents a major victory for law enforcement agencies that have been relentlessly pursuing him for years. It also deals a significant blow to the Sinaloa cartel, which has now lost one of its most strategic and influential leaders. In the days following Zambada's capture, U.S. law enforcement agencies expressed their satisfaction with the successful operation. The Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, both issued statements praising the coordinated efforts that led to the arrest. This is a significant victory in our ongoing fight against drug trafficking, said a DEA spokesperson. Ismael Zambada has been a major target for years, and his capture will undoubtedly disrupt the operations of the Sinaloa cartel. The arrest also drew reactions from political figures on both sides of the border. In the United States, officials emphasized the importance of international cooperation in combating drug trafficking. This operation is a testament to the strong partnership between U.S. and Mexican authorities, said a senior U.S. official. Together, we are sending a clear message that we will not rest until we bring these criminals to justice. In Mexico, the arrest of Zambada and Guzman Lopez prompted an unusual public appeal from President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. In a televised address, the president called on drug cartels to refrain from engaging in violent conflicts in the wake of the arrests. We urge all criminal organizations to avoid violence and maintain peace, López Obrador said. The capture of these individuals should not lead to further bloodshed. We must work together to ensure the safety and security of our citizens. The president's appeal highlights the potential for increased violence and instability following the capture of such high-profile figures. The power vacuum created by Zambada's arrest could lead to internal struggles within the Sinaloa cartel as rival factions vie for control. This in turn could result in a surge of violence, not only within the cartel, but also in the broader landscape of organized crime in Mexico. For the Sinaloa cartel, the loss of Zambada is a significant setback. Known for his strategic mind and extensive network of loyalists, Zambada played a crucial role in the day-to-day operations of the cartel. His absence leaves a void that will be difficult to fill, and it remains to be seen how the cartel will adapt to this new reality. Some experts believe that the cartel may splinter into smaller, more fragmented groups, while others predict that a new leader will emerge to consolidate power. As the legal proceedings against Zambada unfold, the world will be watching closely. His next court appearance is scheduled for September 9th, and the charges against him are extensive. In addition to drug trafficking, Zambada is also facing charges related to money laundering and organized crime. The outcome of his trial will have far-reaching implications, not only for the Sinaloa cartel, but also for the broader war on drugs. If by any chance any of these charges stick, there is only one destination for Mayo Zambada, the final destination for the most dangerous criminals in the United States, ADX Florence Supermax Prison, also known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. We shall explore the possibility of ADX Florence becoming the new home Mayo. With its impenetrable security measures and notorious inmate roster, ADX Florence stands as the ultimate fortress. ADX Florence Supermax Prison, officially known as the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility, is a fortress of modern incarceration, located in Fremont County, Colorado. This prison was commissioned in 1994 and opened its doors in January 1995. It was designed to house the most dangerous and uncontrollable inmates in the federal prison system, those who pose a significant threat to national security or have a history of extreme violence. The establishment of ADX Florence was a direct response to a series of violent incidents in other federal prisons. On October 22, 1983, Thomas Silverstein and Clayton Fountain, members of the Aryan Brotherhood, fatally stabbed correctional officers Merle Klutz and Robert Hoffman at the United States Penitentiary, Marion. Marion. These stabbings, which occurred only a few hours apart, highlighted the need for a facility that could isolate the most dangerous inmates to ensure the safety of both staff and other prisoners. Federal Bureau of Prisons Director Norman Carlson proposed the creation of a new facility specifically designed to isolate these high-risk inmates. Under his leadership, USP Marion was operated in permanent lockdown for 23 years, serving as a model for ADX Florence. Carlson believed that the prison would hold criminals who were desperate enough to murder corrections officers or other inmates in the hopes of being sentenced to death. He argued that as draconian as these measures were, they were the only way to deal with inmates who have absolutely no concern for human life. The construction of ADX Florence was a significant undertaking. The county already had 9 prisons, but the lure of 750 to 900 permanent jobs plus temporary jobs during the prison's construction led residents to raise $160,000 to purchase 600 acres for the new prison. Hundreds of people attended the groundbreaking for the facility, which was designed by 2 architecture firms in Colorado Springs and cost $60 million to build. The prison's design is a marvel of modern security. Each cell is constructed of poured, reinforced concrete to deter self-harm and is equipped with a desk, stool, and bed, all made of concrete. The cells also have a toilet that shuts off if blocked, a shower that runs on a timer to prevent flooding, and a sink without a tap to eliminate potential weapons. The windows are only 4 inches by 4 feet, allowing inmates to see only the sky and roof, making it nearly impossible to plan an escape. Inmates at ADX Florence spend 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. They are allowed 1 hour outside their cell for exercise, but even then, they are kept under strict supervision and restraint. The exercise area is a concrete pit resembling an empty swimming pool, designed to prevent inmates from knowing their location within the facility. The prison is equipped with motion detectors, cameras, and 1,400 remote-controlled steel doors. Officers in the control center monitor inmates 24 hours a day and can activate a panic button that immediately closes every door in the facility. The prison houses inmates at 6 different security levels, each with its own purpose. The control unit is for inmates who have committed serious conduct violations or acts of violence at other institutions. The special security unit, known as the H unit, houses inmates who are members of terror groups or have special administrative measures placed on them. Range 13 is a special 4-cell wing within the special housing unit for inmates in need of the tightest control. The intermediate units house step-down inmates who can earn a transfer to another institution if they remain incident-free. Despite the extreme security measures, there have been murders at ADX. In 2005, Sylvester Mayorki Rivera and Richard Santiago brutally beat and stomped Manuel Torres, a high-level member of the Mexican mafia, to death in the prison yard. The prison has also faced controversies. In 2012, 11 inmates filed a federal alleging chronic abuse and failure to properly diagnose prisoners who are seriously mentally ill. Critics claim that extended confinement in solitary cells severely affects prisoners' mental health, a conclusion supported by numerous studies. ADX Florence stands as a testament to the lengths the federal government will go to ensure the safety and security of its citizens. Its design and operation reflect a commitment to isolating the most dangerous individuals, preventing them from causing further harm. For someone like El Mayo, the elusive leader of the Sinaloa cartel, ADX Florence represents the ultimate endgame, a place where even the most powerful criminal empires come to a halt. But why exactly would a man like El Mayo be taken to a supermax prison? To put it simply, El Mayo is a name that sends shivers down the spine of law enforcement agencies around the world. For over 4 decades, this elusive drug lord has operated behind the shadows and controlled a vast empire. El Mayo, 4 decades of crime. Born in the 1940s in the rugged terrain of Sinaloa, Mexico, Ismael Zambada, Garcia's early life was far removed from the world of crime. Growing up in a humble farming family, young Ismael spent his days toiling the land, unaware of the dark path that lay ahead. The harsh realities of rural life in Sinaloa, coupled with limited economic opportunities, set the stage for his eventual descent into the criminal underworld. The 1980s and 1990s saw the rise of powerful drug cartels in Mexico, and the Juarez cartel was at the forefront. El Mayo's entry into this dangerous world began with his involvement in the Juarez cartel, led by the infamous Amado Carrillo Fuentes, known as El Señor de los Cielos. Under Carrillo Fuentes' mentorship, El Mayo quickly rose through the ranks, proving himself to be a shrewd and resourceful operator. The death of Amado Carrillo Fuentes in 1997 marked a turning point for El Mayo. Seizing the opportunity, he established his own organization, carving out a significant share of the drug trade. With the slow demise of the Tijuana cartel, El Mayo Mayo expanded his routes through the northwestern states of Sonora and Baja California. His organization controlled much of the production and shipment of heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl from Mexico into the United States, solidifying his position as a major player in the drug trafficking world. El Mayo's influence grew rapidly as he expanded his criminal empire. His networks controlled much of the heroin, marijuana, methamphetamine, and fentanyl production in Mexico. He also trafficked cocaine from South America and set up intricate money laundering schemes involving several companies, some of which allegedly received government contracts. With each passing year, El Mayo's power and reach extended further, making him one of the most formidable drug lords in history. Despite his growing power, El Mayo's criminal empire was not without its challenges. In the decade leading up to his capture, he faced significant losses within his inner circle. Authorities arrested his brother, Jesus El Rey Zambada, and two of his sons, Ismael Zambada Imperial, alias El Mayito Gordo, and Vicente Zambada Niebla, alias El Vincentillo. His nephew also fell into the hands of law enforcement. Between 2010 and 2019, these key figures were extradited to the United States, where they cooperated with authorities, leading to reduced sentences. The internal dynamics of the Sinaloa cartel were equally tumultuous. On February 2017, El Mayo narrowly escaped an assassination attempt orchestrated by Damaso Licenciado Lopez Núñez, another Sinaloa cartel leader. The ambush also targeted two of El Chapo's sons, suggesting a fierce internal struggle for power following El Chapo's capture and extradition to the United States earlier that year. However, the tables turned quickly. Licenciado was arrested in Mexico City in May 2017, and his son, Damaso Lopez Serrano, alias Mini Leak, surrendered to U.S. authorities in July. This left El Mayo at the top of the Sinaloa cartel, alongside El Chapo's sons, known as the Chapitos. Each faction had its own collaborators and armed factions, which worked together most of the time but occasionally clashed violently. El Mayo's survival of the attack and the subsequent arrests of his rivals solidified his position within the cartel. Despite the internal power struggles, he managed to maintain control and navigate the treacherous waters of cartel politics. His ability to adapt and outmaneuver his enemies ensured that he remained a dominant force in the drug trade, even as the landscape of organized crime continued to evolve. The reign of El Mayo, one of the most elusive and powerful drug lords in history, came to an abrupt end on the afternoon of July 25, 2024. Traveling in a private plane to the U.S. border city of El Paso, Texas, and reportedly accompanied by El Chapo's son, Joaquin Guzman Lopez, El Mayo was finally apprehended by U.S. authorities. This arrest marked the culmination of a relentless pursuit that spanned over 4 decades. El Mayo's arrest sent shockwaves through the Sinaloa cartel and the broader world of organized crime. As one of the key figures who had managed to evade justice for so long, his capture represented a significant victory for law enforcement. However, it also raised questions about the future of the cartel. With El Mayo facing charges in several U.S. federal courts for trafficking large amounts of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl, the power dynamics within the cartel were poised for a dramatic shift. As the dust settled, speculation abounded about who would inherit El Mayo's criminal empire. Many eyes turned to his son, Ismael Zambada Siqueiros, alias El Mayito Flaco. Unlike his brothers, who had been arrested and extradited, El Mayito Flaco remained free and was seen as a potential heir to his father's throne. With deep-rooted connections in the drug trade and a reputation for cunning, he was well positioned to step into the leadership role. The future of the Sinaloa cartel under El Mayito Flaco remains uncertain. While he has the potential to continue his father's legacy, the landscape of organized crime is ever-changing. New rivals, shifting alliances, and increased law enforcement pressure will undoubtedly shape the path ahead. As the world watches closely, the story of the Sinaloa cartel and its new leadership is far from over. But for El Mayo Zambada, a new life awaits in a new environment. ADX, Florence, an insane life in a supermax prison. Welcome to a world shrouded in secrecy and extreme isolation. Let's dive deep into the chilling reality of ADX Florence, the United States' most secure supermax prison. Known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies, this facility houses some of the most dangerous criminals, from terrorists to serial killers. Imagine spending 23 hours a day in a concrete cell, with minimal human contact and constant surveillance. Life inside ADX Florence is a relentless test of mental and physical endurance. Located in the remote town of Florence, Colorado, this supermax prison was designed to house the most dangerous and disruptive inmates in the federal prison system. The decision to build ADX Florence came after a series of violent incidents in other federal prisons, highlighting the need for a facility with the highest level of security. The ultimate aim of ADX Florence is to contain inmates who pose a significant threat to the safety of others, both inside and outside the prison walls. This includes terrorists, serial killers, high-profile gang leaders, and inmates who have committed committed violent acts while incarcerated. The design of ADX Florence reflects this purpose, with its state-of-the-art security measures and extreme isolation tactics. The facility is divided into several units, each with varying levels of security. The most restrictive unit, known as the control unit, is reserved for inmates who require the highest level of supervision. These inmates are confined to their cells for 23 hours a day, with minimal human contact and constant surveillance. The cells are designed to prevent communication between inmates, ensuring that they remain isolated from each other. One of the most notorious inmates housed at ADX Florence is Ted Kaczynski, also known as the Unabomber. Kaczynski carried out a series of bombings over nearly 2 decades, killing 3 people and injuring 23 others. He was captured in 1996 and has been held at ADX Florence since 1998. Another infamous inmate is Ramzi Youssef, the mastermind behind the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Youssef's attack killed 6 people and injured over 1,000. He was captured in 1995 and has been serving his sentence at ADX Florence ever since. The prison also houses Zacharias Moussaoui, the so-called 20th hijacker of the September 11th attacks. Moussaoui was arrested in 2001 and later pleaded guilty to conspiring to kill Americans as part of the September 11th attacks. His presence at ADX Florence underscores the facility's role in containing individuals who pose a significant threat to national security. Life inside ADX Florence is a stark contrast to the outside world, defined by extreme isolation and rigid routines. Inmates spend 23 hours a day confined to their cells, which measure just 7 feet by 12 feet. These cells are constructed from poured concrete, with solid steel doors and a small, slit-like window that offers only a limited view of the sky. The design ensures minimal human contact and communication between inmates, creating an environment of profound isolation. The daily routine at ADX Florence is monotonous and unyielding. Inmates are awakened early in the morning and must adhere to a strict schedule. Meals are delivered through a slot in the cell door, and inmates eat alone in their cells. The food is basic but nutritionally adequate, designed to meet the inmates' dietary needs without offering any luxuries. Exercise is limited to 1 hour per day, and even this is conducted in isolation. Inmates are escorted by guards to a small enclosed exercise yard, often referred to as a dog run. This yard is surrounded by high walls and topped with razor wire, ensuring there is no possibility of escape. During exercise, inmates are still under constant surveillance, and any deviation from the rules is met with swift disciplinary action. Privileges at ADX Florence are scarce and must be earned through good behavior. Inmates may have access to a limited selection of books, magazines, and newspapers, but these are closely monitored by prison staff. Television and radio are also restricted, with inmates allowed to watch or listen to approved programs only. Communication with the outside world is severely limited. Inmates can send and receive letters, but these are thoroughly screened by prison officials. Phone calls are rare and heavily supervised, often limited to a few minutes per month. Visits from family and friends are infrequent and conducted under strict conditions. Visitors must undergo extensive background checks and are often required to travel long distances to reach the remote location of ADX Florence. Visits take place in a secure area, with inmates and visitors separated by thick glass partitions. Conversations are monitored, and any attempt to pass contraband or unauthorized information can result in the termination of visiting privileges. The psychological impact of such extreme isolation is profound. Many inmates experience severe mental health issues, including depression, anxiety, and hallucinations. The lack of human contact and sensory stimulation can lead to a condition known as SHU syndrome, characterized by cognitive impairment, emotional instability, and social withdrawal. While the prison does provide some mental health services, these are often limited and inadequate to address the severe psychological distress experienced by many inmates. Despite the harsh conditions, some inmates find ways to cope with life at ADX Florence. Religion and spirituality offer solace to many, with inmates spending hours in prayer and meditation. Others immerse themselves in reading and writing, using books and letters as a means of mental escape. The prison offers limited educational and vocational programs, but these are generally restricted to inmates who demonstrate good behavior and a willingness to participate. The staff at ADX Florence are highly trained and follow strict protocols to maintain security and order. Inmates are escorted by multiple guards whenever they are moved within the facility, and the guards wear protective gear and carry non-lethal weapons. The prison is equipped with advanced surveillance technology, including motion sensors and cameras, to monitor every inch of the facility. Any breach of security is met with immediate and decisive action. Life inside ADX Florence is a relentless test of mental and physical endurance. The extreme isolation, rigid routines, and limited privileges create an environment that few can truly comprehend. The cells at ADX Florence are designed to minimize interaction and sensory stimulation. Inmates spend 23 hours a day in their concrete cells, with only a small slit-like window providing a limited view of the outside world. The lack of natural light and fresh air, combined with the absence of social interaction, can have a devastating effect on an inmate's mental well-being. Many inmates report feelings of hopelessness, despair, and a sense of being buried alive. The psychological toll of such extreme isolation is well documented. Studies have shown that prolonged solitary confinement can lead to a range of mental health issues, including severe depression, anxiety disorders, and psychosis. Inmates may experience hallucinations, paranoia, and suicidal thoughts. The lack of stimulation and human contact can also result in cognitive decline, making it difficult for inmates to concentrate, remember, or think clearly. Recognizing the severe impact of long-term isolation, ADX Florence has implemented some measures to address the mental health concerns of its inmates. The prison employs a team of mental health professionals, including psychologists and psychiatrists, who provide assessments and treatment for inmates experiencing psychological distress. Inmates can request mental health services, and those identified as having severe mental health issues are given priority for treatment. Therapeutic interventions at ADX Florence include individual counseling, group therapy sessions, and medication management. Inmates may participate in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, to help them develop coping strategies and manage symptoms of depression and anxiety. Group therapy sessions, although limited, provide an opportunity for inmates to interact with others and share their experiences in a controlled environment. Despite these efforts, the mental health services at ADX Florence are often criticized as being inadequate to address the profound psychological distress experienced by many inmates. The limited availability of mental health professionals, combined with the restrictive nature of the prison environment, means that many inmates do not receive the comprehensive care they need. In some cases, inmates with severe mental health issues are transferred to specialized psychiatric facilities where they can receive more intensive treatment. The prison also offers limited recreational and educational programs designed to provide mental stimulation and alleviate the effects of isolation. Inmates who demonstrate good behavior may have access to a small selection of books, educational materials, and vocational training programs. These activities, although restricted, can provide a sense of purpose and mental engagement for inmates struggling with the monotony of daily life in solitary confinement. Religion and spirituality also play a significant role in helping inmates cope with the psychological challenges of life at ADX Florence. Many inmates turn to prayer, meditation, and religious study as a means of finding solace and maintaining their mental well-being. The prison provides access to religious texts and allows inmates to participate in religious services, albeit under strict supervision. The psychological impact of long-term isolation at ADX Florence is a stark reminder of the human cost of extreme incarceration. While the prison has implemented measures to address mental health concerns, the harsh conditions and profound isolation continue to take a toll on the inmates' mental well-being. ADX Florence stands as a fortress of extreme isolation and relentless security, designed to contain the most dangerous criminals in the United States. Since its establishment in 1994, this supermax prison has housed notorious inmates like Ted Kaczynski and Ramzi Youssef, El Chapo, and soon enough, El Mayo Zambada. Despite measures to address mental health concerns, the harsh reality of long-term solitary confinement remains a contentious issue. ADX Florence is a reminder of the lengths to which society will go to ensure security, raising important questions about the human cost of such extreme incarceration. If you enjoyed this video, check out our other awesome videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.